Hi guys, for today's lesson I'm going to walk you through a little discussion of the severe weather that happened last Wednesday, the 8th of April, and I'm going to talk you through a little play-by-play account of my storm chase that day. This is something I would like to do with you guys in person. If we were having face-to-face teaching, I would show you the same images and pictures and so forth, and we'd have a little back and forth discussion about it, but instead we'll do it through Canvas and through this video. So here is the Storm Prediction Center's severe risk outlook for that day, Wednesday. This basically is where the weather forecasters think there's going to be severe weather that day. Here is Indiana, and you see that the southern half of Indiana especially had a higher risk for severe weather. Remember, in general, the way these maps work is the brighter the color, the higher the chance of severe weather in that place. And the different maps just represent different types of severe weather. So over here is hail. Severe hail is 1-inch diameter or larger, quarter-sized or larger. Down here we have straight line winds. Severe straight line winds, by definition, are 60 miles per hour or faster. And then down here we have tornadoes. So as you can see by the percentages and colors, there was a slightly lesser chance of tornadoes and a slightly greater chance of wind and hail. The top map, by the way, the top left map that I circled, just shows a combination of the three different modes of severe weather. So I decided for my chase, looking at these maps, I would start in south central Illinois and work my way back towards Indiana, since the storms were forecast to start somewhere in western or central Illinois and move east with time. So I started from Lafayette, which is approximately here, and drove towards Springfield, Illinois, down here, and set up a little bit east of Springfield in the afternoon of Wednesday. That was about a 2.5-hour drive, approximately. And when I got east of Springfield to my what's called a target area, I started getting close to the severe storms, which were already up and running. Here's a radar grab from my phone, or a screenshot from my phone, of the storm that I picked to chase, which was just north of Springfield. And the colors on these radar images, if in case you guys didn't know this, go kind of like this. The green and yellow is light rain, orange and red is typically heavier rain, and then the pink and purple is hail. And so notice the core of this storm here north of Springfield had a lot of pink and purple. Very large hail happening in that core, and that was some of the most pink and purple I've seen on a radar image for a long time. And if you're a storm chaser and you see those kind of colors on a storm that you're chasing, you know you probably picked the right storm to get up close to and see some exciting severe weather action. So here is what I started to see as the storm approached me from the northwest. There were these rolling, ominous, very turbulent-looking clouds, sculpted-looking clouds at the leading edge of the storm. This is a common thing to see in severe thunderstorms with damaging winds or large hail. The instability and turbulence in the atmosphere really will stir up and sculpt the clouds into some incredible shapes. Check out how much in-cloud lightning was in this storm. These are video grabs from the video I took of all this lightning happening in the storm, which I have the video in its entirety posted on my YouTube channel. I believe it's the one right before this video that you're watching now. You can check that out if you would like. And remember what I told you guys when we learned about lightning a few weeks back, is most lightning actually happens in the clouds. Not as much lightning ever reaches the ground and becomes what we call a cloud-to-ground lightning. Most lightning is in-cloud or cloud-to-cloud lightning. And you can see what a tremendous amount of that there was in this storm, just continuous non-stop lightning flickering and weaving through the storm clouds. It was a beautiful experience to see up so close like this. And as the storm overtook me and started to roll over my position, you see a couple of different things going on in this image here. On the left, you have what's called the gust front, or the leading edge, where the highest straight line winds of the storm usually are happening. And on the right, here's something called a gustnado. It's a little bit hard to notice right away in this picture, but that smudge of dust in a farm field is something called a gustnado, which is not the same thing as a tornado. I'm going to talk about that more on the next slide here in a second. But this storm, with these widespread damaging straight line winds as it was rolling through these dry plowed farm fields and back roads, kicked up tremendous amounts of dust. So a gustnado, again, is more like a dust devil than a tornado. Here on the upper left is a picture I took of a gustnado last year, and down on the right, the lower right, is someone else's picture, also of a gustnado. These are not the same thing as tornadoes. The reason is because a gustnado does not connect with the rotating base of a supercell thunderstorm, as a tornado usually does. By definition, a tornado has to be connecting a rotating thunderstorm with the ground. These gustnados are just confined to the ground. These swirling, relatively small columns of dust that whirl up and then fade away. But sometimes people misreport them as tornadoes if they aren't aware of the difference. So here's a look at some of the damage that happened from these storms in Illinois and Indiana. Again, by reminder, here is Indiana. And I've showed you these damage maps, I think, once or twice before. But as a review, the blue dots represent wind damage. The green dots are large hail or damaging hail. And then the red dots are tornadoes. So you can see right away, Indiana has tons and tons of wind and hail damage reports from these storms. In fact, even up in Lafayette, we had some wind damage, and I'll come back to that in a couple of slides. There were a few tornadoes, it looks like, south of Indianapolis on that map, a few red dots, but I think probably those were embedded in a line of storms and would have been kind of hard to see. And you can see also Illinois, at the middle of Illinois, where I picked to chase, and really a lot of other places had a lot of damage reports from these severe storms. By the way, if you're wondering what the black squares are, that just represents wind over 75 miles per hour. 65 knots, which translates to around 75 miles per hour. And the black triangles are hail over 2 inches in diameter. Now, I heard that there was hail reported 3 inches in diameter from the storm I was chasing by Springfield, which would be at least baseball-sized hail. So that storm really was serious business. Here's a couple of wind damage pictures from the Springfield storm that I chased. These are not my photos. This was a friend of mine named Zach Walters, who also lives in the Lafayette area and chased out in the Springfield area that day like I did. On the lower right here, you see there's a part of a barn wrapped around some power poles. This barn got completely flattened and destroyed by the straight line winds. This was not a tornado, just straight line destructive winds, probably 80 plus miles per hour that flattened that barn. And then on the left is a semi-truck that got tipped over by the high winds, and that's a common risk with any kind of high wind situation. High profile vehicles like semis or campers can get tipped over easily. So those are just a couple examples of some of the damage caused by these storms. Even back at my own house, there was some wind damage that really could have actually been deadly. And here's what happened. This is what's left of a 10-pound concrete block on top of this trash barrel here with my hand next to it for scale. This block was on the roof of my house. We were having some remodeling and reconstruction type work done on the house with some building materials temporarily on the roof. And this huge gust of wind hit as the storms were rolling through and catapulted or launched this 10-pound concrete block off the roof. It crashed onto our porch and broke into about 4 or 5 pieces. And it struck about 1.5 feet or 18 inches away from where my mom was standing right at that moment. She was on her way into the house and heard this huge crash right next to her, turned and saw this concrete block broken into pieces. And if that thing had hit her, which it almost did, it probably would have killed her, or at the very least seriously injured her, or been a really painful situation. So that was kind of a scary close call for my mom. And it's a good example of why severe weather is dangerous, and you need to take it seriously and be aware of your surroundings, even if there's not a severe thunderstorm warning, which there actually was not right at my house at the time. If there's high winds or any kind of storms going on, be aware of what's going on and try to be in a safe place and be inside as much as possible. And that's really all I had to share with you guys. There's a sunset image from the backside of those storms in Illinois as they were fading away. And let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I will have a prompt typed for you in Canvas to give a little follow-up to this. But stay in touch and be healthy and safe, and hopefully I will get at least a couple more storm chases in before the end of the year to share with you guys. But in the meantime, you take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.